Hey everyone, as always, Dylan Miller Prospecting, and it is Paydirt review time again. And I am continuing my series where I am going through some of the biggest bags of Paydirt I can possibly find to see if I can find some big ROIs and a lot of fun. Now this one is a little different. It's not a big bag of Paydirt, it's a big brick. And this is from Gold Bay. It's his regular grade hard rock brick. It only weighs about 5 pounds, but I figured since you have to crush this up, it would take a lot of time to do, which is equal to doing a lot of Paydirt. So I'm not going to waste too much time on this because we're going to have to crush this all up, classify it down, and then still pan it out. So let me just flash up the description, and then we're going to go to the table. So here's the description. So at my table, and I'm not going to classify this material, one, because it's a very hard rock, so I need to break it up first. And I'm going to show you the tools I am going to be using, or me and my son are going to be using to break this up. And then I will classify it off screen, and we'll just, at the end of this part, show you all the classifications. Now first, let's weigh this up though. I am keeping it over a tray because as you can see, it does fall apart a little bit in transit. But let's just weigh it up. 4 pounds, 14 ounces. So not bad. That's a lot of hard material. Now, one cool thing about this one is, as you can see, it didn't get any concrete in a certain area. So you can kind of see inside of it. And that's really, really cool. Now, to break this up, I've seen a lot of people where they took a whole bunch of black pipe and got really big sizes. But instead, what I'm going to do is, I think this is a 6-inch piece of black pipe, threaded on both ends. And we'll just do this. And this is going to be the crusher. And to crush it in, I'm going to just use a 1-quart paint can. But to keep the bottom from being deformed, I got an electrical cover plate, which fits in there perfectly. And this way, the bottom is flat, and it should keep the bottom of the can from deforming. If not, you'll see me change it out in the middle of the video. And the duct tape is to tape this on just to make sure that while we're banging it doesn't keep popping loose. And last but not least, some safety glasses, because smashing concrete, you need some safety glasses. So I'm just going to cut to us crushing this rock up and listen to some music. And then we'll be right back and show you all the classifications. Okay, as you saw, I edited. Okay, as you saw, we crushed up some of the rocks. I did not show the entire process because it took way too long. We did it, it took us probably about 2.5 to 3 hours, and that would have just been way too much editing. So I just showed the very beginning on the process on how we did it. And a couple things. First, the can held up really, really well. Once I put the metal plate on the bottom, it deformed a little bit, but it did not stop us from crushing the rocks. Now, the big problem with this material, for me anyway, obviously this is supposed to be run through a rock crusher or some other means much better than just hitting it with a hammer in a can. Because once you got to a certain size, which is the +10, you started getting pieces of concrete like this and rocks the same size. So when you were hitting them both together, you couldn't break up the rock, and therefore you couldn't break up this piece. So it did make it really difficult, so I kind of left this like this. And even this, you can't really break it up finer than this because the rocks get in the way and you're just hitting a rock as well as a piece of concrete, which prevents the piece of metal from traveling farther down and crushing this. So I am going to do another experiment. I am going to save all of this pay dirt and reprocess it again next month and try a different method to see if I can extract even more gold out of it. But the way it is right now, pretty equal amounts. Obviously a little bit more in the +10, but then again, this is not very crushed up all the way. There are still rocks in here that could be totally crushed that would then go into these other classifications. So all that's left, check some magnetite. I don't think there will be anything magnetite in any of this material just because of how it's made. And as you can see, really nothing. Yeah, really nothing in this material. But I don't think the magnetite was what was supposed to make this pay dirt difficult. It is the fact that you have to crush it up. So I'm going to go pan this out. We're going to see what kind of gold we get. And hopefully I can get most of it out of here. So be right back with some water and some pans. So have my water, have my pan set up, have my +10 material here. And I'm going to be really curious to see if the water does anything to break up this concrete anymore. We're going to find out. Let's just go pan this out, starting with the +10. So, finished panning everything out as you saw, and I have to say that was some of the most challenging Paydirt I have ever encountered. Not only was the panning difficult, but by the fact you have to spend hours crushing it up before you can even pan it. Now, there was no real magnetite in it, so that part was not difficult, but the Paydirt itself was very difficult. The concrete has small air bubbles in it, so it makes it lighter than the other material. And that normally wouldn't be a problem. It was kind of like panning out a whole bunch of styrofoam BBs out of the Paydirt, but the problem was when the gold was attached to the concrete, it made the gold much lighter. So it was really hard to keep the gold at the bottom of the pan. It tended to want to stay at the top of the pan, and by it being white, it makes it really hard to see. It was extremely difficult Paydirt to pan. I don't know if you could tell in the video, but later in the stages of me panning it, I changed up the way I normally pan to try and make it a little bit easier, and it did seem to work. Instead of my typical back and forth motion, I went side to side, kind of like when you see how they use the gold claw. And that seemed to keep the heavier material, even when it was attached to the concrete, to stay at the bottom of the pan. But every time I repan the material, which I did 3 times, I found gold. Because this stuff is not only dark gold, as is typical of Gold Bay, but it had a lot of white coating on it, so it was hard to discern when it was gold and when it was actually concrete. So very difficult Paydirt to go through, and let's just get to what I found though. In the plus 10, I did find some gold. A whole bunch of nice pieces, and as you can see, they still have concrete on them. It's just, I don't know how I'm gonna get that off. I will tell you later in the review what I plan on doing with this gold. But there you go, I did find some nice pieces in the plus 10. And in the minus 10 plus 20, again, some nice concrete covered gold right there. Probably about 12, 15 pieces. So pretty happy with that I even managed to recover it. And then in the minus 20 plus 40, again, even more gold. Probably 40 to 50 pieces. And finally, in the minus 40, a nice pile of gold. This was really, really challenging. When I was panning this out, I did not even think there was any minus 40 gold just because it is coated in that nice thin ultra white hue that it has now become. So it was pretty difficult to pan out, but I did find the gold, and I'm sure I missed some, but we'll get to that in the review. Let's just weigh up what I did find in the plus 10. 1.540, and the minus 10 plus 20, 0.120, might have been 0.13. I picked it up a little quick. I've been talking so much, I'm trying to rush. In the minus 20 plus 40, 0.075. And lastly, in the minus 40, 0.030. So let's just add it all up and see what we get. $1.775. So I'm going to go right back with my ROI and my review. All right, finished calculating my ROI, writing up my review, but before I get right into it, I do have a few disclaimers I must put in this video. Now for my first disclaimer, I have to say that Dave knew I was getting this Paydirt in. He knew it was being shipped to me. So this bag could have been different than any normal bag. I don't believe it was, mostly because the other reviews I've seen have gotten more gold than I did. Which leads me to disclaimer number 2. I am sure I missed some gold. I don't think this thing only had 1.775 grams of gold. I do believe it was probably closer to 2 grams or maybe even more. I don't know though, this could have been every single speck of gold, but I do plan on making a second part to this video and reclassifying, drying out, and reprocessing all this Paydirt again for another video next month. So please hold off all judgments on this video until this next one. This one can be used more as to show off how it is processed, what I recovered, what the gold looked like, things like that. Now for disclaimer number 3, the gold weight might be off. While I said I did recover 1.775 grams of gold, there is, as you can see, still some little bitty flakes of concrete stuck to it, so therefore it would change the score. Now I do plan on reprocessing this gold as well to clean it up better to make it a truer weight for the next video. So again, please hold off all judgments until that video comes out. Which is disclaimer number 4. Wait until the second video. Now it will probably not come out for about 3 to 4 weeks from when this one posts, because I am waiting in for some chemicals to come in so I can reprocess this all with acids. So wait for those before we get to the final numbers, but I am going to give you the numbers that I got out of this right now because this is what I recovered. So let's get to it now. This again was from goldbay.com. It was his regular grade hard rock mining experience. It had no guaranteed amount of gold, but it does state you will find gold. In fact, he does put the average per ton in there, so you could calculate what you would average find in it based on what grade you buy. Now, its cost was $139. Shipping was $14.90. So total cost, $153.95. Gold recovered right here, 1.775 grams of gold. Gold spot on the day this was received was $55.23, making this gold's value worth $98.03, which makes my ROI a 63.68%, or on my scale, a 6.4. Now, again, I do believe I missed a lot of gold. Maybe not a lot of gold, but I am sure there's at least a couple pieces in there I've missed just because it's really hard to break this up, and I'm going to have to find a better way to break up the rocks or dissolve them, or to make sure that there is nothing but rocks in one pile and concrete in another, so then I can smash up just the concrete. But that's for part 2. Now, for fun factor, I'm giving this an 8. I actually bumped it up just because it is so challenging, and you are essentially left with a second thing of Paydirt to re-go through because, like I said, I know I missed some gold, so I will have to reprocess and do it again. So it's like you get a second bag of Paydirt almost. Now, for Paydirt description, he's only getting a 6. It does have a little bit of details in there, some nice information, but it could be a lot better. In fact, he does have a YouTube video where he really goes into depth about this hard rock mining experience. And if he just posted a link to that in the description, he would get a 10 for that because it's a lot of information. But most people who see a web page are not going to then go to YouTube to see if they can find a video about it. And if they do, they'll probably come to my channel. So now for Paydirt quantity and packaging, he's getting a 10 for both. I was very happy with the quantity. There was none guaranteed, but it was a solid brick of concrete with Paydirt inside of it. And it was well packaged. For customer service and shipping, again, both 10s there. I've never had any issues with his customer service, even through any of my dummy accounts, and his shipping has always been top notch. So total score right here for goldbay.com's regular grade hard rock mining experience is an 8.1, which is a really good score. And in fact, I know 100% that this score will go up when I do my part 2 video. Now, another criteria I have been adding into all my videos is gold per pound. Now, this originally weighed 5 pounds 6 ounces. I know earlier in the video I weighed it up and it weighed 4 pounds and 14 ounces, but I forgot to weigh these stuff on the side until I was off camera. But once everything was in there, it was 5 pounds 6 ounces, which makes my gold per pound 0.330, which is 3 times higher than any of the other Paydirts I've reviewed this month. But again, I have to say this one is much higher in price. It is 3 times the price of the cheaper bags I did and double off of the last review I did. But the gold per pound is much better in this one. And I thought this one, out of all the reviews I've done this month, this one was definitely the most challenging. So it was a lot of fun. Now all that's left is to flash up the score, give away a 24 karat gold plated dime, but also remember to make sure that sometime in the next few weeks I will be putting up a part 2 when I reprocess all this material. Now, before I give away today's 24 karat gold plated dime, I do need to give a shout out to one of my newest Patreon members, and that's Joel Green. So Joel Green, thank you very much for joining my Patreon page and supporting this channel. And if anyone else wants to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/Miller Prospecting. And for today's 24 karat gold plated dime winner, that's going to go to Josh Robbins. So Josh Robbins, make sure you email me so I can send this off to you. And to everyone else, thanks for watching, happy panning, and if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button below.